Hello everyone. Welcome back. It's live with Ussie. No, it's been a while. Life has been happening, but we are here. We are here surviving. Um yes, so welcome back. On today's episode, we came with a banger. It's more of a reminder to myself, and I also feel like someone out there needs to hear this as well. So, today's episode is called Don't Disqualify Yourself. And I feel like so often the enemy doesn't even have to fight us directly. He doesn't have to send his minions, he does not have to send his squad. He just has to plant a seed of doubt big enough for us to end up disqualifying ourselves. But you know what? God says otherwise. So we will go a bit biblical today. We'll touch into the story of Moses. Remember Moses? He said, "But God, I'm not good with my speech." He said, "But God, they will not listen to me." And you know what? God chose him regardless. He felt unqualified. When God called him, he felt unqualified. He disqualified himself. But God chose him anyway. So, without further ado, let us get started. Let us get right into it. I'm so excited. So, let's start with Moses. Here's a man who grew up in Pharaoh's palace, but ended up fleeing, and he ended up had to flee the palace and into the wilderness after, taking out the man, an Egyptian. So for 40 years, Moses was a shepherd, far from the palace, far from influence, far from leadership. He was just a regular guy. He settled into the life he was living, right? He's just a regular guy at this point. Then one day, God appeared to him in a burning bush, right? And God said, I'm sending you. I'm sending you to bring my people out of Egypt. And Moses was like, um, me? Oh, me? Are you sure? He was like, who am I? What if they don't believe me? God, remember, I am slow of speech and tongue. I am not eloquent. And he said, you know what, God, I think you should send someone else. That is plainly disqualifying yourself. He disqualified himself in front of the God, the one who knows all, the one who knows the numbers of the hairs on your head, the one who knows that you're not good with your speech, but he chose you anyway. And Moses disqualified himself. Plainly, he said, you know what? I think you should send someone else. Back to you and me. Now, isn't that exactly what the enemy wants? For us to disqualify ourselves before we see God's plans for us manifesting. And the enemy will have us disqualifying ourselves from God's plans for us. You know what I've learned? What I've came to realize in my battles, in those battlefields I've been in? I've came to realize is that if the enemy has no legal right to stop God's plans for you, he'll have you stop it yourself. That's why you see a lot of people taking themselves out of the game, right? If you know what I mean. Because the enemy cannot take them out of the game. He will have people go into distraction. He will have people go into a different direction before they go into the direction that God has called them to. Because he cannot stop God's plans for us, but he will have us disqualifying ourselves. You hear yourself doubting if God even said something to you. God gives us a promise. I know God gives you a promise. I know God gave you a promise. Even if you think that was not God, I know that God gave you a promise. God gives us a promise so that as we move into this life thing, you have this promise in your, as a goal. You have this desire. Sometimes it comes as desire. You have this desire as a goal. You have this vision. Sometimes it's a you aspire to be that. But that's usually God's plan for your life. But the enemy will creep in and say that you're not good enough. The enemy will creep in and say that you're not worthy. The enemy will come by and say, oh, look, he don't fit in. The enemy will creep in and say, oh, look at your peers. They've surpassed you. You cannot catch up. You're too late. There isn't any room for you. There is no space. But I'm here to remind you that if God placed that desire in your heart, God will finish it. If God placed that vision in your heart, God will finish it. Let me share something personal. There was a time when the Lord spoke to me about something, a promise, a vision. And I immediately looked at my situation, looked at myself, and thought, I'm no ways. How could this even, when you look around, and you're like, I don't see it possible. I don't see it happen. I remember when I was down and out, back in 2022, I was in the worst health of my life. Fighting those battles that I've been fighting. Fighting for my life. And I did not think I will make it out of 2022. Right? And here I am. It's 2025. Here we are. Praise the Lord. I did not think I would make it out. I looked at the situation and I was like, how? And family members will try to, even if they see that, I think the people who are usually positive, even if they see that, instantly, we don't know, but we have to speak life over her. And they were like, no, you will make it. You will make it. And I was like, how? How? And you know what really scared me was, how do I make it out of this and leave to tell the tale? Because I don't think anyone who has gone through this makes it out and actually tells the tale. Because wow. Because wow. And where does it go with this? Okay. What I was saying is that um sometimes you look at your circumstances, you look at your situation, you look at things around you, you look at what you're going through, and you be like, no way. No way this could ever happen. If maybe God places a vision in your heart, places a promise in your heart, and you look at yourself, you look at your circumstances, you look around, and you're like, look at your peers. Sometimes we are human beings. We do compare ourselves. You look at your peers and you're like, I don't think I can catch up. I don't think I can catch up. Oh, back to the vision I was talking about. So God placed a vision in my heart, right? The promise. And I was like, no ways. I don't think it's possible. I thought about it and wrestled with it. And the easiest thing I could do at the moment was to disqualify myself. I even said it. This is how this episode came to be. I even said it. I said it in my mind. Mentally, I said, you know what, God, I disqualify myself because I didn't think. I looked at this thing and I looked at myself and I looked at my circumstances and I was like, you know what? I disqualify myself. I'm going to tap out. Imagine. Imagine. But here's the beautiful thing is that God already knows our hearts. God already knew my heart. He already knew that doubt will creep in. And he followed through with a word, a reminder. And my faith was restored. As he said to Moses, he said, I will be with you. He said to Moses, I am not just sending you to Pharaoh by yourself. I will be with you and you will have a sidekick. You will have a sidekick. If you read your Bible, you'll know. So he reminded me that he's a faithful father and he takes everything into account. He takes my setbacks into account. He takes my flaws into account. When he gives you the promise, he takes your circumstances into account. But he still says, I want you. I want you to do this. Please do this. So, just like Moses, with all the factors stacked against him, who knew? I think he already disqualified himself when he took that man out. He was like, you know what? But God still said, God said, you the perfect guy for this job. You will lead my people out of slavery. You will lead my people out of slavery, not anyone else. So let's get into God's will versus our will. Here's something else that I've learned is that there's God's will of our lives and our will, all right? And God's will is always perfect because He takes into account everything. When He plans your life, He takes into account your setbacks, He takes into account your circumstances, He takes into account how long it will take you to reach that goal. He takes into account your physical being, He takes into account your finances, He takes into account everything. Our will is usually comes from what we see around because we are social beings, comes into what we've been influenced by, it comes from comes from what we see others succeeding on, right? Our will sometimes is not usually bad. However, there comes the enemy. Here comes the enemy. The enemy, on the other hand, he does not really have any real authority when it comes to our will and God's will. He cannot change God's plans for you, but he can tempt you into steering your life so off track, into the point whereby it's not even your will anymore. So off track by planting seeds of doubt, distraction, chaos along the way, leading to disappointments, leading to giving up, leading to going off the track, right? And the real danger isn't that God disqualifies us, it's that we disqualify ourselves. But here's some encouragement: don't let the enemy win. Take it from me, take it from someone who did not think that she will make it out of 2022. Someone who went through hell and back, literally. So, don't let the enemy win. Do not disqualify yourself. Don't let self-doubt rob you of your promise. Don't let self-doubt rob you of the vision that God planted in your heart. If God said it, He will do it. He will be with you. He called you. He will qualify you. And you don't really have to have all the answers at this very moment. You just need to have faith. You just need to trust. You just need to lean on Him. You just need to put in the work sometimes. I know sometimes it's hard, but you know what the word says? Faith without works is dead. And remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. If Moses, a man with excuses, a man with so much flaws, a man who was a criminal, a man who was a criminal, if he could still be used mightily by God, flaws and all, setbacks and all, I'm saying, so can you. And with that being said, thank you so much for joining me. My prayer is that this episode reminds you that you are not disqualified. God already factored in all your flaws, all your past mistakes, all your setbacks, and He still said, I want you. So, until next time, keep walking in faith. Keep holding on God's promise and never, ever disqualify yourself. See you on the next one.